From Anthony Mackie proving his worth as a successor to Chris Evans to bringing back the writer that defined Wilson's story arc in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, here's everything we know so far about Captain America: New World Order. First up, we should probably take a look at the unlikely hero at the heart of this story. Sam Wilson's proven himself to be worthy of wielding the shield. I feel like The Falcon and the Winter Soldier did a great job of setting him apart. Up until that point, Wilson just seemed like a starstruck sidekick. Sure, giving him those mechanized wings really made his character pop, but when I first heard that he'd be taking up the Captain America mantle, I'll admit, I was rather skeptical. Chris Evans' stellar portrayal probably had a lot to do with that. It was just hard to imagine anyone else taking up the mantle. Plus, the Disney Plus series allowed Anthony Mackie to shine by making these huge expectations a part of the story. I mean, Steve Rogers is a pretty tough act to follow, but Sam was able to overcome his fears of not living up to the legacy because he realized that the world needed Captain America. The show also gave his character the chance to come to terms with America's racial legacy. Of course, there's also Wilson's lack of superpowers. He's just as much of an underdog as Cap before he got the serum. But despite that, he still manages to come into his own, which proves that he's earned the right to call himself Captain America. So Sam's clearly poised to define his own superhero legacy in New World Order, but what about the plot of the film? Well, there are a few hints we can go off of. Director Julius Onah described the film as a political thriller. The story will revolve around an international conspiracy, one that will have far-reaching consequences in the entire MCU. Something tells me that the same themes of government overreach and corruption will come into play. It's kinda interesting that the film shares its name with the finale of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. That entire series was about Wilson trying to restore authenticity to Captain America's name. The government had decided to give the title to a crazed lunatic, namely John Walker. It's safe to say that this guy did not deserve to share the same title as Steve Rogers. For one thing, he didn't really have any morals to speak of, nor did he care about respecting any of his fellow heroes. He was a soldier, yes, but he didn't have Steve and Sam's heart. Their sense of right and wrong and their willingness to stand by their beliefs is what really made them heroes. Walker was too willing to follow orders, even when they were obviously wrong. Wilson only replaced Walker after proving his ability to inspire people, which made him obviously more worthy of the Captain America name than Walker could ever be. Now, if these hints are anything to go by, this upcoming movie is gonna stay true to its predecessors, cause the original Captain America trilogy had fairly similar plot points. Especially Captain America: The Winter Soldier. The second installment of the trilogy is pretty unique as far as MCU movies go. It wasn't saddled with an origin story like the first Avenger, nor did it have any massive team-ups like Civil War. Instead, the focus was squarely on Cap and his struggles to find something to believe in. He's betrayed at every turn, often by the people that claim to support him, which sounds exactly like what Wilson will be going through in the upcoming sequel. It's super important to honor the legacy of the Captain America films, and so far there's a lot to suggest that this is exactly the approach the filmmakers are going for. All of this is exciting enough on its own, but there's way more where that came from. Captain America: New World Order is gonna bring back an old-school MCU villain, so I'm gonna have to wind the clock way back to this one, all the way to 2008's The Incredible Hulk. Some of you might remember a certain scientist in the movie named Samuel Stearns. He was trying to help Bruce Banner stop hulking out when he got angry. Ultimately, his efforts went in vain, and the sudden arrival of Emil Blonsky, aka the Abomination, put a quick end to the experiments he was conducting. However, in the chaos of Banner's fight with Blonsky, Stearns ended up getting infected with Banner's blood. In a short scene, it's shown that his brain starts to bubble and expand when the Hulk juice enters his system. It's been about 15 years since the character was even mentioned, but in a shocking turn of events, it was revealed that he's gonna be one of the villains in Captain America 4. What's more, Tim Blake Nelson's getting the chance to play the character again. In my opinion, that's the best thing we could have hoped for. Stearns has developed super intelligence when Banner's irradiated blood mixed in with his own, and he's now referring to himself as the leader. He's not the only adversary that Wilson's gonna have to face either. Thaddeus Ross will be returning as well. The villainous general has a long history with Wilson. He's already put him in prison once, and I can't imagine he's happy to see Sam lifting Captain America's shield. It would have been bad enough if he was still just a general, but he's moved up in the world since his last MCU appearance. Ross will be the president of the US in the film, which gives him a frightening amount of power. Unfortunately, William Hurt's passing means that the role had to be recast. But luckily for us, Marvel struck gold in that department, because President Thaddeus Ross will be played by none other than Harrison Ford. It'll take a while to adjust to a new actor in the role, although his daughter, Betsy Ross, is also returning, and she'll be played by Liv Tyler, just like in The Incredible Hulk. Given her character arc, it's pretty likely that she'll help Wilson defeat her father. He's gonna need all the help he can get with both Thaddeus and the leader to contend with. Fortunately, he's gonna have his old mentor to rely on, namely Isaiah Bradley, who helped him open his eyes to some uncomfortable truths. Carl Lumbly was one of my favorite actors from the Disney Plus series, and his return as Bradley will help connect the film to its predecessor. It also looked like a new Falcon will be entering the fray too, though. A character by the name of Joaquin Torres, played by Danny Ramirez, will be set up as Wilson's sidekick. To top it all off, we're also getting Shira Haas playing a mutant spy named Sabra. And I'm willing to bet she'll be lending some support to Wilson as well. That's a pretty solid team Wilson's got in his corner, with plenty of new and old characters making up the supporting cast. The size of the cast actually points to New World Order's place in the MCU. You see, it's setting up a whole host of spin-offs, starting with Thunderbolts. The film's named after a team of anti-heroes and former villains who want to right their past wrongs. In the comics, Captain America is pretty closely involved with the team, so I can totally see the upcoming movie set up another appearance down the line. Thaddeus Ross is also slated to appear in the Thunderbolts film adaptation. This might make it sound like New World Order will just be another launch pad for new franchises. But I'd say that the strong Captain America themes suggest in the plot, coupled with the excellent villains, gives fans a lot of hope that it'll stand on its own as well. Besides, the creative minds behind New World Order have proven that they know how to handle the character. For one thing, the film's script and story were written by Malcolm Spellman. He did a great job on The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and bringing him on to write Captain America 4 further strengthens the connection between the film and the series. Spellman's coming in with a lot of momentum, because he's getting the chance to continue the story he's already begun. As for the director, Julius Onah's a bit of a newbie. That said, he's already produced a spectacular film by the name of Loose, and it was mostly about racial politics in America. You can see how perfect he'd be for the first movie depicting a black Captain America, because he won't shy away from the controversial topics that might come up. Will this duo be able to do Mackey's character justice? We'll have to wait until 2024 to find out. Here's to hoping that the sequel restores the MCU to its former glory. That's all you need to know about Captain America: New World Order.